Welcome in to the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to. He look crazy, Bill.
Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, welcome in to a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live as always, built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and the crew is always over at RMB. You can find them easily online at rmb-builders.com, and on social media, they're on Instagram, where you can hit them at RMB Builders. So check them out over at RMB Builders. We're also brought to you, our phone line daily, brought to you by our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Shout out to Charlie Harvey and the crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center, formerly Metropolitan Health Group. Same services, same great people, same great reputation over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Get in touch with the crew over there. And don't forget, Mr. Fun's Travel's got a trip that's going to Orlando. Jason Ramazan, they are booking their trip, and the flights, tickets, all of the accommodations for Mr. Fun's Travel is loading up. Spots are filling up for the trip for Orlando as LSU football will be taking on Florida State on Labor Day weekend. If you want to check that out and you want to make the trip with the Tigers, you can do that. A part of Mr. Fun's Travel online, MrFunsTravel.com. All right, good stuff yesterday. Appreciate all the feedback and all the love on the Jay Johnson interview. Appreciate Coach Johnson coming through here and spending 30 minutes with us and talking a lot about his team and where it's going here into the future. A lot of cool stuff to talk that we went over with Coach Johnson. If you missed that interview, remember you can check it out on YouTube, and we actually cut it down and have it isolated for you, so you can check that out on YouTube if you want to check out Coach Johnson's interview by searching it up. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure and do that. Hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We're going to talk to Billy Embody this morning on the Southern Regional Medical Center phone line, as Embody will be here talking some recruiting. They got a cool piece happening over at the Bengal Tiger, a part of On 3's exclusive content right now, where they're breaking down LSU's top 40 players going into the season. So we'll talk a little bit to Billy about the roster. We'll also talk to him about some recruiting. Ethan Callaway, obviously the big 4-star tackle that just committed to LSU over the last couple of days. We'll talk to him about the addition of Callaway. And yesterday's offensive line discussion really got a lot of people chirping on what LSU is doing there. And so we'll dive a little bit more into that with Billy as well, as far as especially around the recruiting angle of the offensive line. That is a part that really has changed direction really quickly over the last 2 cycles. I mean, if you can recall with me, and look, you don't have to be an old LSU fan to remember how desperate LSU was when it came to recruiting the offensive line. I mean, there were cycles where LSU would sign 3 to 4 and 5-star guys, and they would only have 1 offensive lineman. There were classes where they were taking 2-star level players to fill in for the misses that they had just swung and absolutely whiffed on from recruits in state, around the region, around the country. It was routine. I mean, there were so many Tristan Lees that you throw all of your attention, you throw all of your recruiting energy into one player, only to have them take you all the way up to the finish line, ask you for some gear for their family, get in trouble with the program, and the kid goes to Clemson. I mean, Cameron Robinson grew up with a poster of Glenn Dorsey on his wall in West Monroe when he was a kid. I mean, it was tough to lose Cam Robinson. Nick Saban saw an opening when Robinson came in, and the best left tackle that this state has produced since Lyle Collins ends up playing 4 years at your biggest rival. I mean, there were a laundry list of names and guys that you swung and missed on that were just backbreakers as far as on the field and what it meant to you in recruiting and what it meant to you as far as building a class and building a program. I mean, it was just it was crushing. It stunted the program's growth multiple years. I mean, it was the reason why they couldn't win championships, because they had skill level players everywhere, but they couldn't protect the line of scrimmage. They couldn't dominate the line of scrimmage. And now to see where the recruiting is, where the depth is, where the numbers are in just 2 cycles, it really is. I mean, it is amazing to see. I know we touched on this a lot yesterday, so I don't want to dive too much more into it, but I mean, to see what they have done on the offensive line really is amazing. I mean, I know yesterday we talked about Lance Hurd, and Hurd is a guy that, you know, from a physical standpoint really checks all the boxes. I mean, you're talking about an Emory Jones, Will Campbell type physical player. But, I mean, you look at the offensive line class that's joining him. I mean, guys like DJ Chester, Tyree Adams. Adams is the best offensive lineman in the state behind Hurd. So you get the top 2 players at that position in back-to-back classes, right? Where last year you get Emory Jones and Will Campbell, and this year you get Lance Hurd and you get Tyree Adams. Hurd from Neville High School up in North Louisiana, and Tyree Adams out of St. Aug down in New Orleans. I had a chance to watch Adams play this year versus Zachary. I mean, he is a lunar eclipse when he's on the field. He is enormous. I mean, when he broke the huddle and stood on the line of scrimmage, he covered up 2 players at Zachary. When he got down to a stance, there were 2 players behind him that he was covering up when he broke the huddle. He is enormous. Athletic, good feet, project, but, you know, I mean, a guy, when you have numbers like LSU has, you're safe. And then, you know, I hear guys like Brad Davis and even Brian Kelly talk about Paul Mubanga as somebody that they have high expectation for. So Mubanga is a guy out of Georgia that they signed in the class that is, you know, really when from a recruiting standpoint, and we can talk to Billy more about it, it is really kind of considered a project. Got to football late. You know, he didn't start playing football until late. But as far as his, like, tools and attributes, I mean, the dude is, I mean, like, a freak. They got the commit Kyrie Lee from John Ehret in this class, and then we saw Ethan Callaway come aboard last week. I mean, look, Will Campbell and Emory Jones are going to be the highlights of this group. But, I mean, guys like Garrett Dellinger and Charles Turner and Miles Frazier, and even guys like Marlon Martinez, who's played a lot of reps and really, you know, had a really good bowl game and gave, you know, the coaching staff something to really, as far as recruiting the roster goes, Marlon Martinez was one of those guys that they were really concerned about jumping into the portal and hanging on to. So we'll talk to Billy about that recruiting class. We'll talk to him about the recruiting methods, how it's changed so quickly on the offensive line, and what other groups need to step up and maybe catch up to the offensive line as they fast track. I mean, think about the differences in recruiting identity for LSU just over the last 3 cycles. LSU has become a legitimate school that quarterbacks are paying attention to. I mean, you're getting visits from every high-end quarterback in every cycle. You're getting serious attention from guys that, are big-time players, and Joe Sloan has made a great reputation within recruiting that position as somebody that you have to go see. Right? And this is the generation that grew up watching Burrow. So there's a built-in, admiration. There's a built-in kind of has to be curiosity about LSU just by watching that team play as a very, influential recruit. I mean, you got to imagine. I mean, these guys watching that team 3 years ago, they were 14 years old, 15 years old, 13 years old. I mean, think about how impressionable you are at that time of your life. I mean, hell, I was 40 at that time, and I would go to LSU because of Burrow. I mean, he made an incredible impression on adults. Think about what he was doing to, teenagers at that time that love football that were quarterbacks. So now that's this cycle that's paying attention to LSU and really getting some attention there. And the offensive line, man, I mean, as we said, I mean, it's just it's amazing. For me, it's the attention. What was most frustrating really in covering LSU, and again, we'll talk to Bill about this more in depth, is the cycles that they would go through that guys wouldn't even pay attention to them. It was like, well, hang on. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, you got to look at LSU and think there's playing time to be had. And even guys that were demanding early playing time weren't even thinking about LSU. I mean, it was almost a toxic type feel to that position. I mean, they tried new coaches, they tried new coordinators, they tried different, the head coach would recruit the offensive line. They couldn't get it. They couldn't master it. And Campbell and Jones being a part of the state, Will Campbell and Emory Jones coming out of the state in the same cycle that's a huge luxury that, the state is not going to see every year. And I would say, probably once every 20 years, you see something like that. I can't remember the last time that the top 2 offensive line prospects in the country were out of the same state. I mean, you were talking about 2 top 5 guys. But, I mean, you had to hit on them, and you did. And they got here, and they played, and it's, turning out to be incredible.
And it's the development, right? Like, you would, even when LSU was getting offensive linemen, they were still getting, 4-star guys that they would get on campus, and nothing matriculated from them. Nothing came of it.
Well, and that was the stench.
Yes.
I think that was you can term it dirty recruiting, but I think the way that other schools were recruiting LSU against their offensive line was they were laying out the prospects and laying out their time at LSU, and then laying out nobody was getting drafted. Nobody was playing in the league. Where, schools that you were recruiting against, Alabama, Florida, even schools like Tennessee at the time, Arkansas,
Texas.
I mean, they were putting offensive linemen into the league. And LSU it just wasn't happening. I mean, Trey Turner came along. Lyle Collins came. I mean, it was not cycle after cycle where guys were going into the league. Ethan Posick was a couple of years later. I mean, they had dudes. They just didn't have them in successive order like other schools were putting them out. This group is about, draft day for this unit is going to be fun. I mean, you're going to see I would say they probably got 4 draftable players right now in the room. I mean,
That's not a stretch.
I mean, you're
What's the 4?
Campbell and Jones for sure.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like they're playing pro football. Then I mean, when I'm looking at other offensive line, I mean, you got to remember now, offensive linemen are not looked at like Garrett Dellinger to me is.
I was gonna say Gary Dellinger.
I mean, he's a pro.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like he's
Versatile.
he's versatile. He's big. He's strong. He's athletic. He's got good feet. I mean, to me, there's definitely going to be somebody that looks at him and says, we will take a chance on him. And look, I'm just putting my money on Lance Hurd for sure right now. I mean, that guy's a pro. You know, I mean, he's as certain of a pro to me as Campbell and Jones are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know.
I just wanted to see who you thought was the four pros.
And then when you're talking about guys like Charles Turner, who's played a ton of snaps in the SEC at center. Maybe he's not an NFL center. Maybe he's a guard. I don't know where. I know his size has always kind of been an issue. But anybody who has that amount of reps and that experience in the league, I think that, you know, I mean, it's worth a free agent tryout, right? And
some people might think it's worth a 6th-round pick.
could be. You look at Marlon Martinez, size not an issue for him, right? I mean, he's versatile. He's played in different spots. He's also a guy within the building that they are really high on. Like, they want to find a spot for him to contribute. You know, I mean, whether it is, they got good competition. You know, I mean, they got fierce competition when you're talking about the entire group. And I mean, you know, I mean, offensive line's also a group where, you know, somebody could jump out. Somebody could definitely surprise you and say, wow, where'd that guy come from? So, you know, I think it's just, it's amazing to see what they've done in the group in just a short time. It really is. All right, so we'll talk to, Clint Phillips writes in from the Parish. Jordy, don't forget about Tyler Lunsford, who's coming in from Maryland, who started a ton of football games for the Terps, and he's another one who is, I mean, he's enormous.
Like 6'7", something like that.
300-pounder. You know, I mean, Callaway's another one. I mean, that's a part of it too. You know what I mean? Like, Jay Johnson was here yesterday, and I think that, you know, for just the makeup of the team, like that LSU baseball team, they looked a lot different than some of the previous teams, right? I mean, like, they had the facial hair, they had the chains, they had the tape, they had the tats, they had the hair, they just kind of looked
like a baseball team.
Yeah, it kind of looked a little intimidated getting off the bus, right? I mean, LSU's now gotten back to where, I mean, their offensive linemen, they got that 20, I mean, like, I always remember like that 2011 offensive line, at T-Bob, Blackwell, and all. I mean, those dudes were huge, man. I mean, like, they were just mammoth of people. I mean, it was just that they were, the size and the intimidating of it was real. And I think, you know, to get back to that, you know, those types of athletes where they're just huge people that can move. I mean, you got to be able to do that in the league. And one, you know, one group that I think is really, you know, showing that is LSU, man. I mean, it's incredible, man. I mean, really, it is. It's fun to watch to see this offensive line kind of taking shape. Looking forward to talking to Billy Embody about that coming up here. Embody and the crew have a cool feature going on of predicting some of what's going to happen this year, including the LSU Player of the Year on offense and defense, and the Freshman of the Year, and On 3 and the crew over there. They have a great site. Make sure you check it out. You can get your login information. You can get your membership today going into season. I fully suggest it. It's got great info. Guys like Shea Dixon, guys like Billy Embody, Matthew Brunet doing great work over there. As we said, they're ranking the roster. They got some cool features going out, like on offensive and defensive MVPs, as well as rookies of the year. And they settled on a couple that, you know, it's tough to argue with. Jaden Daniels, they nominated as their offensive player of the year. Defensively, no surprise, Harold Perkins was their defensive player of the year, and the freshman of the year was Deshaun Walmack. You know, I think that this one really could be up for debate when you talk about this freshman class and who could be a real standout, of this group. Obviously, we've been talking a ton about offensive line, and a guy like Lance Hurd, really jumps to the forefront of guys that could come in here and help LSU immediately. You know, I think of guys like, just from watching the spring game, you know, I look at a guy like Javion Taviano, who you think about a versatile player, and I know he's a corner, and he's a guy that can help you in the nickel as well. But if you saw how many snaps he played during the spring game, I know that's not a true representation of what the fall is going to look like, and they got more guys that are coming in, and they'll have some guys that are off of injury that will be there. But when you look at just the need, you look at how good and physically ready Taviano seems to be, he's another one that really jumps out. Obviously, Deshaun Walmack, he's a 5-star guy that comes in here at a very much open position, a position that is needed for some instant production, with guys like B.J. Ojolari and Ali Gay taking off to the NFL. We mentioned Lance Hurd. I would think that another name on this list to watch out for is going to be Kamorian Pimpton, is the tight end. I mean, look, if you saw our sit down with Brian Kelly when we asked him about the tight end, he was blushing. I mean, he was giddy on some of the options that they're going to have, and talking to some people who are connected and inside the building over at LSU football. Pimpton being on campus and seeing him up close and having an opportunity to work with him and seeing him at work. He is going to be a guy that's going to be on the field a ton early. And look, they got options at tight end. I'm not saying that Mason Taylor's coming off the field. I'm just going to say they're going to have some looks where it's going to be exotic with some of these guys. Where a guy like Pimpton, you can split him out. You can do some things with him that in his first year, a lot like Harold Perkins, where they drew it up in the dirt just to get him on the field and put him in some he could be a red zone touchdown maker for LSU. When you just talk about his physical tools, and now that the staff and the weight training staff has had an opportunity to get him on campus and start to work with him. That 6'6", 220-pound frame is going to, it's about to blow up quick. Being in a weight program every day, eating the nutrition packages that LSU's offering with the 3 square meals every day. Pimpton is a guy that I believe, he might be a dark horse right now as far as a newcomer of the year type discussion, but he's someone that could quickly fly up the charts just because of look, he's going to be a specialty player this year. For as good as they are at wide receiver, they've got all of the essentials, right? They've got speed, they've got size, they've got strength, they got all that you need at wide receiver to be one of the top wide receiver groups in the country. Pimpton, you can just throw out there on certain situations, red zones, 3rd and shorts, first down throwing opportunities. Just kind of put him on a little quick bubble from the slot and just get him one-on-one with a smaller player. He's
one of those guys that when he checks in the game.
Who is that?
Opposing, if you're not clued into the LSU program or keep up with recruiting the way that LSU fans do, if you're just watching on the couch and he just jogs onto the field, who is the 6'6", 240-pound freshman that just came in the game? Because you have Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Aaron Anderson, Mason Taylor, who's getting almost forgotten, even though he came into his own late in the year after he was thrust into a role. He didn't have a choice. He had to play. And then you saw his maturation and progress, and you added Pimpton into that. it's just it's embarrassment of riches on the offensive side.
And then depending on how we define newcomer, if it's just a rookie, if it's just a freshman, obviously those are some names to watch. But I think you got to throw Aaron Anderson and Denver Harris into the mix if we're just talking about newcomers to the team. I mean, Aaron Anderson could be he could be the biggest game breaker on this team, potentially. I think Malik Neighbors right now is a huge game breaker, obviously. Brian Thomas is a guy that could break a game wide open just by, touching it in one play. Aaron Anderson could be the most electric of any of them. I suspect he'll be the punt returner on this team, which will give him a few more touches. I think he'll be one of the top 3 options at wide receiver week in, week out. He's a guy that if you've seen his highlights, if you've seen him play, he's a change the scoreboard guy from anywhere on the field. He can take a slant route and go 90. He can take a punt and house it. He can take a kickoff and bring it back. He can do anything, put the ball in his hands and special things happen. And then Denver Harris, potentially could be a shutdown corner for you.
The amount of work that they did in the transfer portal that you're going to get big-time reps from is unbelievable. When you talk about, Aaron Anderson, Denver Harris, Chestnut on the other side, Zy Alexander on the defensive side, Omar Spates is going to be your starting middle linebacker.
He could be a newcomer of the year.
Yes.
Really. We got Bill?
Yes, we do.
Ovia Gofu's going to play.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll kick this back up with Billy. They're doing a great job over at On 3, breaking down some of the stories of off-season recruiting. They're also diving into the LSU roster and bringing to light some of the stories to watch there. So we'll talk to Billy about some of the names as far as newcomers, offensive line recruiting. Lots to get to with Billy Embody next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's is located down on Iberville Street in New Orleans. Katie's is in Mid-City, and their online address, their web address is katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com. We tell you all the time, man, Katie's is a staple for the city. If you're looking for a taste of New Orleans, if you want to go check out and get a feel for the city, Katie's is a great spot to go check out today. katiesinmidcity.com. They got great menu items to choose from. Some of New Orleans favorites. They got St. Louis style pizza to choose from as well. Get in touch with them over at Katie's. Katie's in Mid-City. Katie's in Mid-City. We'll be back with more Billy Embody talking some recruiting next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders, as always, live here on this Thursday. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. We were telling you, so many of you come through here and watch the content. We appreciate that. We love it. Get some of the numbers. A lot of you that come and visit are not subscribers. Subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Hit that bell. You get notified when we go live or when content comes out, and you want to keep up with our next piece of content. Billy Embody talking about recruiting. Lots to get to with Bill here, as it's been an active June for LSU and the rest of the college football world. Billy, happy belated 4th of July. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
What a great hat.
Oh, you can get it for $1.
Got mine at home.
You can get it for free when you join the Bengal Tigers.
That's what it is. Even you know what's better than $1? Free 99.
Free.
Exactly.
Billy, it's good to talk to you. Good to see you. We were talking about the piece that you guys are running over on 3, which we are encouraging everybody to get over to the Bengal Tiger and get their subscription. But you guys are diving into the roster, ranking the top 40 players on it. But you're also talking about some offensive, defensive, and newcomers of the year. The newcomer of the year, I think, is pretty – look, Harold Perkins and Jaden Daniels, tough to argue those two in offense and defense. Newcomer of the year, I think, is a spot that, look, you can go in any direction. I love Deshaun Walmack, like you guys said. We brought up Lance Hurd and been talking about the offensive line. And even a guy like Kamorian Pimpton, who I've heard since being on campus that they have fallen even deeper in love with, is a name that could pop. Who do you like in this freshman class than some of the obvious suspects that could be dark horses here?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I'm a big Deshaun Womack fan, so it is hard for me to shy away from him or Lance Hurd. I saw Lance a bunch when he was coming up through, his recruitment and his rise to a 5-star for us at On3. But just kind of rewatching the spring game, like a lot of people do over the course of this dead time of summer. Now that it was really only baseball, which was great, but you got to fill the void somehow. JV and Toviano and Jaylen Brown jump out to me, and for two different reasons. I felt like JV and Toviano, his versatility that he brought to the table, his college-ready size, they could kind of play him all over. And I think when you're a freshman, you want to give coaches the most opportunities to get you on the field. And it's kind of like how they found a way for Harold Perkins to get on the field. Yes, Harold Perkins was a 5-star. We knew the talent that he had coming in. But I think he even surprised them with how well he could rush the passer and affect opposing quarterbacks. And so that was how he found himself on the field as much as he did. And JV and Toviano is a very smart player. He comes from one of the top programs in Texas. It's like a small college over there. And I think with his, college-ready size and versatility, I think he's somebody that's kind of a dark horse newcomer of the year on defense. And then I saw Jaylen Brown at LSU camp. And I saw him at the All-American Bowl, and I saw him the first week of his senior season. And the transformation that he has made, and that was mid-June, is really impressive. So for him to early enroll and get some of the time that he did, he's got that top-end speed. I think the wide receiver room, you've got Malik Neighbors, you've got Brian Thomas, you'll have Aaron Anderson if he's healthy. You've got other guys in there, Kyron Lacey. That'll certainly factor in, but with his speed, with his competitiveness, that was something that I always liked, never shied away from going to camps and competing. And now that he's kind of adding a little bit of size to him, I think Jaylen Brown could be a dark horse newcomer of the year on offense.
What a player you would have to be to strike into this wide receiver group as a freshman, right? I mean, if one of these guys can crack it, look out. You're talking about a great one. Billy, you're a great reference for this. You remember the days where offensive line recruiting around here was, it was a crapshoot, right? You just kind of crossed your fingers and just kind of put a blindfold on and was just hoping to get somebody. Why has it changed so drastically over the last 2 cycles? And what have you made of what they are doing on the offensive line? And then, I guess we'll throw Ethan Callaway in there, who was the latest to commit, the 4-star offensive tackle out of North Carolina last week.
Yeah, I think a couple things. We've seen Louisiana step up and give LSU some really nice guys to recruit in the sense of Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Lance Hurd, Tyree Adams, guys like that. Even Kyrie Lee in this class in 2024, he's dropped a considerable amount of weight. He really looks the part of a guy who, looks, college ready in a sense. He's got to fill out. But the fact that he dropped all that weight is so encouraging just from kind of projecting him. But I think Louisiana has given them some nice opportunities there, which has been critical, I think. And LSU has taken advantage of those. And Brad Davis has played a big part in that as well. And I think Brad Davis, out of you could kind of say all the recruiters on staff, he casts a really wide net and gets a ton of guys to campus. And especially relative for the amount of guys you want to bring in, year out on the offensive line. And he's been able to come up with some really big lands because of that. DJ Chester was a, guy that they beat out Michigan for. They held off an Auburn push. I think Florida State hosted him. And he was a silent commitment in July. And sometimes silent commits don't work out. But they just kind of stayed the course. He kept recruiting him, did a great job with the family, and they pull him out of Georgia. Same thing with Paul Mabenga. He was a silent commitment to another school, though, in Michigan. And on his official visit to LSU, Brad Davis really turned the tide there and was able to get him on board. And he's a nice upside prospect. Ethan Callaway is somewhat similar to DJ Chester this cycle in the sense that, there was quietly confidence behind the scenes at LSU that they were going to get him the entire time. They were his first FBS offer. Coming on the heels of a Campbell offer, no disrespect to them, but not many SEC programs are willing to, throw out the offer when that might be the first offer. And LSU did that, and their scouting department deserves a lot of credit for that. But Brad Davis just, got on him and was able to pull him all the way out of North Carolina. He's a top 100 prospect for us at On3. And I think he's somebody that fits the bill of a developmental guy with what they have at tackle with Zalance Hurd, with Tyree Adams, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, whoever you want to kind of plug in at those tackle spots. Ethan Callaway can take some time and develop because he didn't grow up playing football. He's only been playing for about 3 years. This will be his 4th season. And one of those seasons was shortened by COVID. So he's only played 23 football games. And for him to be a top 100 prospect after LSU evaluated him that early is really impressive. So I think some great evals, some really nice recruiting hits as far as who they targeted. And they've come up with a completely rebuilt offensive line. There aren't any guys that are tipping the scales at about 350 pounds, and that was something that was being celebrated in the building. This is a group that is athletic, and also you could kind of play them at different spots. A lot of tackles that are being pushed inside the guard, which is what you want. So it's just been an incredible rebuild.
What's the realistic chances of one of these newcomers, one of these freshmen playing this year?
I think it's hard. It's hard when you have the group that they have coming back. But I think the way Brad Davis has allowed these guys to sometimes sink or swim, and Will Campbell gave them no choice last year. We know that. Yeah. But Emory Jones really emerged as the year went on and became reliable. And I think this next season will be a big one for him. I saw some pictures of him. He just looks like he's remade his body in a big way. It might take a little bit of either bad luck with some injuries to see one of these guys really end up starting a bunch of games, or a step from someone maybe we aren't expecting, either a DJ Chester who's physically ready to go and is a really, really bright kid, or a Zalance Hurd who's just so talented that he kind of gives them no choice, and they say, you know what, we're going to live with, either some technique mistakes or some learning on the fly and things like that. But Zalance is just such a big dude and so athletic to boot, as well as his length. You're kind of in a good spot. It's a good problem to have, but it is a group that returns a good bit of guys who have played a lot of college football, and that's always kind of tough to break through too.
Billy, from one group of the offensive line who rarely puts out talent on a consistent level in the state, back to the defensive line, who it is very usual for the state to be producing high-end talent. The number one player in the state, or by some services, number one player in the state, is a defensive lineman out of Acadiana, and Dominic McKinley. LSU has made a a coaching change at defensive line. How has that transition gone with McKinley, and where do things stand with him?
Yeah, I think the thing with Dominic McKinley that stands out is how quiet he is on the recruiting front. He doesn't necessarily enjoy talking about it. He'd rather talk about what he does in the classroom. He wants to do computer science. He has a 3.8 GPA over there at Acadiana, and he opens up a little bit more on that. But when it comes to his recruitment, you can read some of the tea leaves. Now, some people in the circle of the Texas Longhorns think they made a huge impression, and that was the final official visit of June. Ohio State also hosted him, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. All 4 schools in June that hosted him for official visits felt like they made a big impact. And LSU is trying to hold that official visit for when he decides, maybe closer to early signing day, and things like that. I think with Dominic McKinley, because there's so little actual face-to-face communication about his recruitment with him, or even just his camp in general, he's going to be a guy that people speculate on, people, opine on where he's leaning or try to read tea leaves and things like that. And so he's going to be one of those guys that there's going to be a lot of buzz from different schools. From what I've gathered over the last couple months, as his recruitment has picked up with official visits and things like that, is I think A&M and Oklahoma are the biggest threats to get him out of the state of Louisiana. And LSU is having to play a long game here because you had a change in Jimmy Lindsey coming in. They've had to kind of reshuffle their plan because of that. And for a guy who really blew up over the last, I guess, 8 months or so, coming off of that impressive junior year, you just have to find your footing in the recruitment, and sometimes it takes all the way to an early signing day to do that. So I feel like LSU is very much in it. I do think there's a strong chance that he stays in state, but A&M and Oklahoma are the two that I've kind of heard that have also done a really nice job recruiting him and making it at least attractive to him to potentially leave the state. So with a 5-star defensive lineman in SEC country, it's about as competitive as it gets when it comes to recruiting. I really believe that's the toughest position when it comes to battles that any program in the SEC wants to win and will do whatever it takes. So it's going to be interesting to see that one play out, but it's too early to call where he's going to end up.
Another one high on LSU's board that I know Frank Wilson is paying specific attention to is Wardell Mack, the DB out of John Ehret. Where does LSU stand right now with Mack?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of buzz coming off of that Texas visit that he took to close out June, and the Longhorns got red hot to end the month of June as well. But I do feel like he's going to take it out a little bit longer. He's kind of not waffled, but said he wants to take it to the fall, or he might decide before his senior season. And for LSU, it's on them to win that battle when it comes down to signing day. So I think we saw that initial buzz around Texas kind of fade, that they were going to get him and get him committed. I even checked around with some folks in Texas that kind of have their ear to the ground on that stuff, and a lot of that initial buzz that he was going to commit maybe has died down. But LSU, Florida, and Texas do seem to be the three contenders right now, and I do like LSU and Frank Wilson to win out in the end. And there's a lot of coaches around the country that monitor different recruitments and have been involved with them at various points. And some of the guys that maybe aren't necessarily involved anymore will be the first ones to tell you they'd be hard pressed to bet against Frank Wilson losing that one. Mm-hmm. So like you said, I think LSU is prioritizing him in the big way. And a lot of the times Frank Wilson has been able to get those players and their families on board and kind of shut things down. That's what Frank has really built his career on is recruiting and keeping guys in Louisiana for LSU. And so this is a big one for him. He's right in New Orleans, and he's got to have him. So I think they'll be able to get him as well.
Billy, one of the schools that is loaded this year, you've done a really good job of following the school and the recruits there, is Duncanville High School over in Texas. They've got some high priority guys for LSU. Including Colin Simmons, who's the top edge rusher. They've got Caden Durham, who's one of the top running backs in the country. And then Alex January is a big defensive player that I know was high on LSU's board and is committed to Texas. Where is LSU as far as these big three in Duncanville is concerned?
Yeah, I think Alex January, LSU gave it a great run. I had a chance to talk a lot with his dad before his decision, and right even up until the day before, Alex was talking to a lot of the LSU defensive linemen and just kind of chatting with them about, what it's like to be there. And I think there was a genuine interest, but ultimately his dad played at Texas, and I think that just won out, when it came to his recruitment. But as far as Caden Durham and Colin Simmons go, LSU is in a battle for both. Caden Durham seems like he's down to LSU, Oklahoma. Are the main two programs that are really involved there. And there's some buzz he could have, been committing to Oklahoma coming off his Oklahoma official visit, but instead LSU punches back and gets him on campus for an unofficial. I'm intrigued to see if he takes it to the fall. He's talked about it, but he's also thrown around some programs that maybe aren't as involved as it seems like, at least reading the tea leaves. So maybe he could pop back either up or down, depending on which one he goes to, for another visit at the end of July. And I think that visit will be key to maybe getting, if you're Oklahoma or if you're LSU, getting him on board maybe before the season goes. So he's LSU's really lone running back target in 2024. That's the guy they're pushing for. They're all in on him, and he's really, really, really impressive. So I think LSU's in it. I think the visit showed a lot from him to come back, but he also has a ton of ties to Oklahoma. His family's up there. His mom went there and ran track. Like I said, there was more buzz that he had actually committed to Oklahoma on that visit. So that's always something to monitor. And will be paying close attention to that. But one that is going to go way into the fall, and most likely to the early signing day is Colin Simmons, the number one edge rusher in the country. And I think we're seeing this one whittle down pretty quickly. He took an Alabama official visit. I don't think he's going there. He took an Oregon, I think unofficial or official, but I don't think he's going that far. Same with Miami. But Texas A&M, and LSU, I think are the three players here. And A&M and Texas probably stand the best chance right now. You look at what they're able to do just from a location perspective. Colin Simmons' brother does have autism, so a big piece for him is making it as easy as he can on his little brother and his mom to kind of navigate that when it comes to seeing him and seeing games and things like that. So I think that's a big piece that when it ultimately comes down to it will be one of, if not the biggest factors, because wherever he goes, I think he's going to be 3 and out. I think he could be a guy that has a Caleb Von Chasson type early impact. And if everything goes his way and he stays healthy, I think he's going to be out of whatever school he goes to in 3 years. But LSU has a lot of, I think, things going for it in terms of the relationships he's been able to build with some of the staff. And A&M and Texas are doing stuff, that at a very high level too. But Colin Simmons always lights up about LSU. So I think they're going to be in it till the end. They're going to host him for an official visit the weekend of the Florida game. And from there, it'll kind of be crunch time for him. So we'll see where the chips fall. But LSU is probably going to be in it with Colin Simmons to the end. And he's just one of those highly touted guys you want to be in that position. And you just hope you can get him on board, especially at a position as he is the jack position for LSU this cycle.
Bill, a few more. I'll get you out of here. Bryce Underwood is a 5-star quarterback that put out a top 4 list that includes LSU. He's got Michigan, Bama, and Ohio State as the other schools there. What's the recruiting board look like for quarterback at LSU right now?
Yeah, you've got Colin Hurley in 2024 committed, and that's obviously done. And he's going to, be a guy that comes in and starts to compete and is coming off the Elite 11 where he had a top 10 finish, which is pretty impressive for a guy his age. But you turn your attention to 2025 like Joe Sloan has for the last 9 months, really, and it's Bryce Underwood and George McIntyre. And those are the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks on the On3 industry ranking in 2025. For Bryce Underwood, he just set his commitment date for January 6th to honor his late grandmother's birthday. And Alabama, LSU, Michigan, and Ohio State are the programs that hosted him, I think, in the last couple months or so, whether it be for camps or visits, what have you. And LSU sits in a good spot here. And I think you're probably going to see him come back for a game. I think that's the other piece that he hasn't done yet. I think he'll come back to Alabama. I think he'll go back to all 4 of those schools when it comes down to it. My question is, does a program like USC get involved? Because we know Lincoln Riley loves his quarterbacks, and I think that's just talking with a source is something to monitor. Where is this list going to go? Because it has been very straightforward with Bryce Underwood, which is nice. But it seems like when it comes to the number 1 player in the country, sometimes you see a twist or a turn. So is there going to be that twist or turn is what I'm watching for. But LSU right now is leaving the summer sitting as pretty as you can ask for as a contender goes. With George McIntyre, it's kind of the same thing. Alabama has a lot of buzz right now behind their ability to get him. Clemson taking a quarterback was key there, I think, in 2025. And then you have LSU, where George McIntyre's visited multiple times. And I think LSU's right in the mix. I think between LSU and Alabama, you almost are starting to see a path where maybe it's Underwood to one, George McIntyre to the other. That is if both of those programs can get those guys to leave, Michigan and Ohio State in Underwood's, case. And McIntyre, being recruited by Tennessee. And we'll just kind of see how it plays out. McIntyre doesn't have a decision timeline right now. There's some buzz that maybe he would make a decision. He's supposed to go to Alabama for the second time this summer at the end of July. So that's something to monitor. But it's too early to call for both, which is good. But LSU with Joe Sloan has been able to put them in position for both of those quarterbacks. And, Joe Sloan has brought a lot of high quality arms to campus for visits, whether it be to evaluate them, whether it be, they've got an offer and they've been recruiting him. And at some point you got to think he's going to be able to make one of these, 5-star, top 100 type players pay off. And maybe it's Bryce Underwood, maybe it's George McIntyre. I don't think you can go wrong with either.
Great work, Bill. Thank you, as always. Great to see you. Follow him on Twitter at BillyMBody and read the work over at On3. Have a great weekend.
All right, you guys too. Thanks for having me.
Always. There he is, BillyMBody, checking in. Make sure and read the work over at the Bengal Tiger. Get your subscription over at On3 if you want to keep up with recruiting. Should be a flurry of recruits and commits coming down here after a month of work put in by the staff in the month of June. We'll keep rolling here in hour 2. Come back with us. Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us.
Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here to a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here on this Thursday. Shout out to our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center, Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan and the entire crew over there. Always appreciate the support they have for the show. Make sure and support them. If you're looking to get to Orlando, the fellas and I were just talking about it, getting to Orlando for the opener, Florida State and LSU. Going to be a huge game, right? I mean, this is, again, a game that is going to carry a lot of weight for both programs moving forward. Can you recover from a loss from this game? I think both programs showed you last season that you can. But in the sense of momentum, and I truly believe this. I've run into some debate, and I hear it. I think that Georgia is going to be out front, the clear-cut number one team in the country going into the season. The defending national champ, they've recruited at such a high level. The depth is different in Athens than it is on a lot of college campuses. And I think that they will be the number one team in the country. I do believe whoever wins the LSU-Florida State opening weekend game has potential to wake up on Tuesday morning as the number one team in the country. I think that there will be some pollsters inside of the voting booth that will look at Georgia's schedule and just disrespect it off the bat, right? And show some respect for a program that is out there playing someone, right? And look, Georgia's going to have time to clean up their mess that they've made with the scheduling. If they make the league championship, which they are the odds-on,
I mean, how could they not?
I mean, major favorite to do it. And you win the league, you're in the Final Four. So, you take that schedule argument and you just you tell everybody to shove it and tell them you'll see them in the playoffs. Now, you wonder if you get to the playoffs and they get into a game like they did last season against Ohio State, if they're going to be able to, find some type of experience where you're saying, fellas, look, our backs are against the ropes. We got to get out of here. We got to win the game. But for a team like LSU or Florida State that is going to be top 5, top 7,
certainly a top 10 matchup
in the country, I mean, I think you're going to be looking at two teams within the top 7 or 8 of opening weekend. And if it is a back and forth, highlight-driven, exciting game, I think the potential to make a jump up to a top 3 team is very valid and potentially set yourself up as maybe the number 1 team in a discussion moving forward, right? I mean, either way, the winner of this game is going to experience enormous momentum and big push at the beginning of the year. What's it mean? Absolutely nothing. Zero. right? I mean, it means nothing. Would you rather be number one in August or September, or would you rather be number one in January, right? I mean, pretty obvious question here. I'm just saying it's a lot easier to navigate college football as a top 5 team and keeping yourself relevant in discussion week in, week out than, having to come from the dark and try and stamp your ticket. For a team like LSU, for a team like Georgia, for a team in the SEC, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I think we debated this last season in the same vein. How important is the Florida State game? Well, it's important, right? But it doesn't make or break you. It gives you a great boost of momentum into the season. It gives you an opponent that you can obviously kind of fast track and expedite some of the things that you really need to work on. I mean, how much was special teams highlighted for LSU against Florida State last season?
Well,
I mean, if you would have played Southern in week 1, you might have you probably would have gotten away with some of those misalignments and those missed assignments. But you play a legit contender in week 1 and you miss a block and they'll block the field goal.
Send you home.
So, I mean, that's one thing that you look at and say, hey, look, man, you can get exposed quickly by playing a team that can punch you in the face. And it also provides you a great learning curve of where you are.
Well, and if you're LSU, don't you feel a little bit different going into this game than you did last year? Obviously, you don't know about the Mason Smith injury before it happens, right? But you went into that game knowing that Mason Smith is going to be the best player in your defense, and then you lose him. Now, fast forward to the Florida State game, 1 year basically to the day, and you have another highlighted game where it's just you on the schedule, just you and Florida State. But now you have Harold Perkins, you get Mason Smith back, and they didn't even get to see him. He played one defensive series, essentially. Played, what, was it, 3 plays?
3 plays, yeah.
And then you know what you have in Mekhi Wingo. He'll be more prepared. Like LSU, I felt like, I don't even think LSU fans knew what they had. I don't think Brian Kelly knew what they had.
No, they don't.
And then this year it feels like, I know it's not, you saw the comments from Brian Kelly saying it's not year 2, we're all in. LSU should be a national champion. He was saying it's a 3-year deal where he wants to get it. I mean, obviously the timeline got accelerated.
Nice job. I mean,
yeah.
Hey.
I know what's going on with women's basketball. Jay Johnson, thanks for the pressure.
Everybody calm down.
Yeah, we're
right?
not. Right, I mean, if LSU is a team that's holding 3 of the 4 major sports national champions, get ready for that smoke. If LSU
I really think if they just make the Final Four, people are going to lose their mind.
The brand.
It's just, you can't get away from it.
But with LSU going into this game, it just feels you're more settled at quarterback. You know what you have in Malik Neighbors, who had you don't think revenge is on his mind after what happened for him in the Florida State game. It just feels a little different this year because LSU feels, while it might not be Brian Kelly solidified and rubber stamped, if you're a fan of the team and you saw what they had last year and you know what they have this year, it feels a little bit different going into it because you were watching going, I don't know what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
Now at least you have an idea, and you got rid of some of the, trim some of the fat off of the coaching staff a little bit, so you feel better going into that as well.
Yeah. No,
it feels different.
It is. No, it's a different team, and I think, like Kelly said, I mean, he had to teach the team how to practice last year. There were priorities on the list that, preparation for game 1 was a little further down. Now this year, I mean, you're much more established. You've got the principles understood in the program. You really you get you got a leg up on preparation this year compared to last season. I mean, quite simply. I mean, that's just it's obvious to say that, and it's obvious that's what's going on. So, LSU and Florida State. What does it mean? It means that there's a really great college football game on opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What are the ramifications of it? Well, barring you stay healthy. I mean, last year the biggest ramification from that game was that you lost one of your top defensive players. Outside of that, the loss really didn't affect you. You made the league championship. If you win, you go to a New Year's Day bowl.
I think the only ramification it really had, which is a big one, is that you always had that thing to point back to, whether it be the pundits or the college football playoff when they have the rankings. That it's still a loss. It's still in the loss column because at the end of the day, I don't think you necessarily look at the opponent when it becomes like they do, but whatever, it's still there's two in the L column. That's a huge knock against you, and it doesn't really matter who was against. They don't look back at the strength of schedule and say, oh, but it was to Florida State. Oh, it was a close game. That's still 2 losses. And then if you drop a third game like you did, now you're totally out of it. You lose the last game of the season against Texas A&M. That could have been your second loss, and you're still playing Georgia in the SEC championship. And you're like, okay, a 2-loss team in the SEC championship. Now you have a chance to go to a Final Four game. If you beat Georgia in that, you're in the discussion. But now with your third loss, it was, oh, they could win this, and if they win the SEC championship, it's New Year's Six. If they lose it, go play, the Cheez-It Bowl and have a blast. It's just that they weighed the wins and losses so heavily when you look at just strictly the scoreboard.
Definitely. And this will be the last year for that.
Yep.
With a 12-team playoff coming next year, I mean, potentially, you won't even remember the Florida State opening game if you're LSU, because it'll all be judged on, the 12-team playoff. And I really believe the way that LSU is trending, the way that they're building through recruiting, it's going to be tough to leave them out of the top 12 for the next couple of years coming up, right? I mean, if you just kind of look at the depth, the positions, the players that they're recruiting, I mean, they're securing themselves up at quarterback. They're securing themselves up at offensive line. They're securing themselves up at playmaking spots like wide receiver and running back. Defensively, you've got guys that are continuing to come in, whether it's through the portal or whether it's through recruiting. I mean, LSU feels like a consistent top 12 team year in, year out. And, after this year, that's the goal. Get into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you get in, they're going to have Cinderella stories, in a field of 12. Right? If this was the NCAA basketball tournament where you had a field of 64, well, it would be tough for Cinderella to make it, way down the line. In a 12-team tournament, I mean, you've seen football teams get on a 3-week run.
Hell, it happened last year with TCU.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have expected them to be where they were at the end of the year, but you just get into the tournament and play it out. Yeah, go Frogs. But is LSU one of the few teams?
Horny.
TCU is
Funky town.
Good Lord.
Just different.
Andy Dalton will get you going. The
Red Rifle.
The Red Rifle. The Red Rocket.
Never misses.
Still playing.
Max Duggan.
Yeah. Duggan and Duggan.
Where's Dalton? Cincy?
No, he is in Carolina.
Carolina. That's right.
Max Duggan just ran another quarterback draw.
Max Duggan almost died on that football field about 3 different games for the entire game.
Who drafted him?
I don't think he got drafted.
No, he had
Somebody picked him up. He's in a free agent camp somewhere.
Let's see. Max Duggan.
Chargers, baby.
Yeah.
Chargers, good luck.
Round 7.
Okay.
Are there 2 different people than Max Duggan and, oh God, who's their starting quarterback?
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Oh my God.
They couldn't be cut from different cloths.
Went to med school, bro.
Yeah, I majored in biology. I wanted to stay at Oregon.
I was in a frat. What do you want?
Yeah, Duggan's trying to play flag football out there. Yeah, don't give me that red jersey. I'm live.
Nose doesn't hurt.
Yeah. He was bleeding everywhere. And then, but LSU, when you talk about like going into the 12-team playoff, LSU is still one of the few teams, I believe, that still they're scheduling week 1 games it's almost at your detriment, even though, like you said, you could still get in with 3 losses probably. But you play in USC next year, and then you're playing
UCLA
back to back, and then you're playing Clemson in 2025. And it's just...
Well, I think LSU's been one of the teams that has experienced huge reward off of this risk. I mean, I think early on, some of these games for LSU really did good things for the brand to propel it into the season. Oregon was a big game for LSU. I mean, even kind of going back before that North Carolina game in Atlanta with Patrick Peterson. I mean, it kind of got that team up and moving. Zach Mettenberger and Odell played TCU in Jerry World that year. That was a win. Even the Miami win with Burrow in 2018. I mean, that was a good brand win for LSU. LSU has experienced more success then, I mean, for as bad as they played, I mean, they're a true freshman missing a block on special teams in his first game ever to tie it
into
up
overtime
and take it into OT. You know, I mean, if you're LSU, you kind of like your chances in OT there. But I mean, you know, that's kind of the loss of it. And when you look at the body of work in playing these games, which is a risk reward, LSU's been rewarded a lot more than they've fallen to the risk.
And I think it's more, like you said, it's for the brand almost. Like to put yourself on that national stage, it's so much better for you, obviously, if you win, but just to be there. And your people are across the country are watching purple and gold play, and they're like, LSU is on again? Like, you don't have to go very far to see them on national television in week 1. And it's the only standalone game, and then LSU in the way that they do social and all of that stuff. You can make a star in week 1. Look at Patrick Peterson is a great example. Tyrann Mathieu. Like, you still see those Oregon plays. Yeah. Like, that thing. But for every one of those, you can name the Leonard Fournette against Wisconsin, like, you know, or then you can even go just
You could go back
Green
to
Bay.
the other Wisconsin game.
Yeah, go to Lambeau. And that was
Kenny Hilliard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
John Dior's.
Yeah.
John Dior's.
Took off down the sideline.
A fourth down.
Needed it.
I mean, like,
and then he ends up at TCU.
Had to have it. That was I think that was Leonard's first game.
Yeah, I think it was. That was all their freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was against Wisconsin,
Wisconsin
right?
again.
Yeah. Leonard was the kickoff returner.
That's right.
With no gloves.
That's right.
Back there. He was like, I'm going to do it just like I did in high school.
That's right.
Everybody was on their feet in that stadium to see Leonard touch the ball. It didn't matter where they kicked it. People were saying in the stadium, if they kick it short, pitch it back to him. I mean, they just wanted to see him touch the ball so bad. And, I mean, if he'd have taken that thing to the house like he did against Notre Dame.
I still see him standing back there his freshman
Me
year
too.
against Alabama.
Oh, my God.
When Reuben Foster
goodness.
just
took his head off.
Decleated him.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Like, the fact that he just got up, it was just like.
Well,
I think he was in shock.
He was in shock, but the worst part about that was Alabama's celebration.
Oh, yeah. That was, like,
I mean,
after that, it was on.
It was over.
Superman,
It was
Superman
over.
can bleed.
I mean, that was the last play of regulation. Like that, the game went into overtime
On that.
after that play.
Jesus.
And the whole Alabama bench like flooded out to their band and like got in front of their band and got in front of their bench. And like, I was standing on their sideline. I mean, like, I was, if you go back and watch the TV copy, I'm all over TV. I'm all over TV. And when that happens, I mean, like, I pack it up.
I'm out.
I mean, like, I am like, this game is over. This game is donezo, man. I mean, like, you had them on the ropes 10 minutes ago. They were on the ropes.
Now it's over.
10 minutes ago, they were beat. Now they are about to celebrate. That's the night that Saban. I think that's the night Saban's crying on the field, or AJ McCarron's crying on the field.
A squib kick later. And
Ugh.
Bama's winning.
My God, brutal.
That's one of the like if you're on the sidelines or you see that type of reaction, you're like, that's what LSU does to people.
Over,
where it's like they're going full like
it's
on 10. Like there's not going to be a penalty flag. You know, coaches around like they're going into the stands, and you're like, oh shit, LSU's
I remember
coming.
like they had those 5 stars all over the place. That was like Tony Brown and like all those cats that should have been at LSU.
Mm-hmm. Tony Brown was on an LSU shirt on the day of the commitment, or LSU hat in the car.
Sister was on the track team at LSU.
That's right. But like all those guys were on the sideline, and when they hit Fournette, I mean, it was just.
Man, when he hit
that's as eerie of a feeling as I've seen Tiger Stadium at home. Like, I mean, it was.
It just went quiet.
You looked around and people were like, "Oh shit, game's over."
Yeah, I mean, you know the feeling. I've had the same feeling when in Omaha and before when LSU was down 2-1. Before Tommy Tanks hits that solo home run, it felt the exact same way. You're like, you have no momentum in here.
Oh, man.
And it was dead quiet. It's all LSU fans, and it was rowdy for 6 innings.
It was.
And then it gets to the 8th, they're like, we're running out of chances, boys.
It's getting ugly.
It's like, I don't see a way that LSU's going to be able to score. And it's like, oh, everybody's back.
One swing.
Yeah.
All it takes is
one swing. That's it.
Keep us playing. Now we're new ball game.
So this LSU Florida State game, obviously ramifications that will carry some weight for all of us, not necessarily the team enormously. I think, like Lloyd laid out, there is a cause and effect to it, right? There is an effect if you do lose the game, and and you lose multiple games, then that loss column begins to stack up. But can you navigate the season and ultimately keep your goals intact with an opening weekend loss? Sure you can. But I fully expect LSU to really bounce back after last season's performance. I think they're taking a much more experienced group at key positions, including the offensive line like we've talked about, and the quarterback spot, right? I mean, you've got a quarterback that is a year in. Now, so do they, right? I mean, they've got a quarterback, too, in Travis that, they trust as well in Jordan Travis that, is coming off of a similar type of prove-it season like Jaden Daniels did to LSU. I think that there was the majority of LSU fans and even the coaching staff that was waiting for Jaden Daniels to prove that he's the guy. He's the number one quarterback. And throughout his season, he did that. And he's the clear-cut number one quarterback on this team because of his performance last season. He's got a very capable backup, does Daniels. But on Florida State's campus, Jordan Travis is carrying the same type of reputation, a guy that was needing to answer questions last year on whether or not he deserved to be, QB1 for the Noles. He answered the question. He's the guy. So you've got two of the top quarterbacks in the country squaring off in a game that is headlining opening weekend. And I think the television executives know exactly what's happening, know exactly what the power of, and I agree with what many of you say. Preseason rankings count for zero. It's nothing. It counts for nothing. It's really built for you and I. It's built for us to talk about and give us something to talk about. And the TV executives know that. And so does the voting panel. So I expect both of these teams to go into the season as two top 5, top 7 teams so that it can create this buzz of, a TV promo saying that number 5 LSU, number 7 Florida State, whatever it may be, squaring off.
Jordan Travis highlight, Jaden Daniels highlight. I mean, they play us like a fiddle. We fall for the trap every time.
I mean, give me a Harold Perkins highlight and watch me foam at the mouth.
Yeah, now I'm in.
I'm following you wherever you're taking me.
The lurk.
Be sitting in some crack alley watching that game play if I have to. You know what I mean? Like, it just take me anywhere.
Spoon and a lighter.
Right. Watching through the window.
You got one more, man?
Hunter, hit me up. Watching through the window at the Best Buy.
I mean, it's going to be must-watch television. So LSU's in it again, right? They're in the center of it.
A lot of Louisiana flavor for Florida State, too.
That's what's wild when you dive into the roster. You pointed that out last year.
Like, a lot. Like, the wide receiver coach is from New Orleans.
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Gabe Fertitta on that staff, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anytime you put a Louisiana coach into a coaching staff room, they know the secret ingredient. I mean, Frank Wilson told the story about Tennessee when he brought Matthew and bus loaded him up there. I mean, next thing you know, you got people arguing and fist fighting over these guys that are just, just calling everybody out at the camp.
It got personal.
But I mean,
he probably took his shirt off.
Oh my God, chest to chest.
People have done that all over the place. I mean, Jabbar Jalouk's done that.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the guy at Kansas that had Jamar Chase committed? I mean, he had 3 guys from New Orleans committed in one weekend. It was the old Warren Easton coach.
Yeah, I forget his name, though. Was he like the DB coach?
I think he was the wide receivers coach.
Thought he was the DB coach.
I mean,
Tony Hull? Tony Hull?
Tony Hull? I mean, Mickey Joseph did it in Nebraska. Any time Frank Wilson did it at Ole Miss, Frank Wilson did it at Tennessee. I mean, anytime you got Louisiana, Jordan Arcemont did it at Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's how I'm telling you. That's how Jordan Arcemont's recruiting reputation has soared through the roof. Is because he circles his wagons with Louisiana kids. I mean, I would bet on Louisiana kids 10 out of 10 times against
Anybody.
And it's not a knock. It's a mentality. It's a different state of mind. And it doesn't play well in every circle. You know, I mean, you probably don't want them at your social parties. You probably don't want them in the middle of the conversation talking about politics. You want them on your sports teams. You want Louisiana kids, you want Louisiana people competing, right? You want that because they come from a place that just you can't recreate. You can't recreate it.
I mean, imagine Arsenal going into Virginia, and they have no clue. Like, we never got into Louisiana. You bring two over, like,
exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Two of our best players.
I mean, not only that, if you're a young up and coming coach, it's a great hat rack. You know what I mean? Like, let me
make this call to Louisiana.
Watch this.
Give me 1 second.
What's your problem? We don't have any DBs. Okay. I mean, you throw a rock from the LSU football building in either direction and go pick you up a game-changing DB.
Like, just pick a direction.
That nobody's even looking at. You know, like nobody's even taking into consideration. Put him on the roster. Next thing you know, you got an All-American. I mean, it's a tale as old as time.
It is.
Curtis Johnson took Marshall Faulk to San Diego State. He was like, watch this.
Give him the ball 50 times.
Watch this.
If I give it to him 40 today, he's going to get 220, 4 touchdowns.
So Curtis Johnson did that at San Diego State. They saw that at the University of Miami. Made him the wide receivers coach at the U. Next thing you know, they got Reggie Wayne and Ed Reed on campus. How good are those guys that have looked in purple and gold?
Oh.
I think they would have been pretty good, huh?
I mean, it's no coincidence that championship teams usually have a nucleus of Louisiana kids.
Hurt, dog.
I mean, think about some of those Alabama teams.
Landon
Collins and Devonta Smith are the captains of their national championship squads.
A Heisman winner.
Cameron Robinson's a 4-year starter at Alabama. Say what you want about the guns and drugs. He don't miss a play at LSU either if he's here.
Hootie Jones.
A little overrated.
Yeah, a little overrated. Still a starter.
I mean,
it hurt when he left.
Yeah, you feel him with Jamal Adams, though.
You
lost the fight, won the war.
The rich got rich.
I bet. I would imagine that.
Oh, that
Jamal Adams' phone had to be like, who? Oh God, something happened. Right. LSU was blowing me up.
Right. How much did you say you wanted?
Yeah.
Here's 100 more.
And you're starting day one.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
Hayden Paris, Louisiana skill players. It's not just the skill players, man. It's defensive linemen. It's linebackers. It has a reputation
of being, you want to put them.
Of being just skill, but I mean,
you could even kind of say quarterback in a
getting
sense.
There.
Like, I mean, Arch and Eli. I mean, not Arch and Eli, Peyton and Eli.
Walker Howard.
Eli Holstein.
Ricky might be a player. Exactly. You know, I mean, Ricky. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that have saying that the growth that Ricky has been through since being in spring has been incredible. And you know what they credit it to? High school coaching. Marcus Randall.
People don't realize how much time they put together, put in together.
They do not. They do not. Marcus Randall has been getting a ton of praise within the walls of LSU's coaching staff. I know that because of just the acceleration of what they have seen Ricky Collins on. They're throwing a lot at Rick, right? And they're throwing a lot at him, knowing that his time on the field is far down the line. They're doing it with a couple of experienced guys in front of him to really expedite his mentorship and take advantage of these days, right? And from what I have been told and what I am receiving feedback on is that he's gobbling it all up. Like he's digesting everything, loves it all, wants more. Great student, great kid, things that we all knew and getting to know him in recruiting, but seeing it play out on campus for him is great to hear. And I think Ricky is one of the players in the quarterback room that we may overlook. Colin Hurley's coming up. Garrett Nussmeier next year. Yeah, don't forget about Ricky Collins now. Wait till Ricky Collins gets his shot. I mean, Ricky's one of those guys that he make every throw you want.
Called his own plays in high school.
Called his own plays, made audibles, checks, was a true leader, hosted team dinners on Thursday nights with the crew. Ricky Collins is. I don't want to speak as if I'm trying to, win a debate on Collins, because I don't think there's anybody out there that doubts him. But if you need to hear this, Ricky Collins is a legitimate contender for this quarterback race when it's his time. I mean, this thing isn't going from Nussmeier to Colin Hurley. Not if Ricky Collins has something to say about it. Because everything he's doing, everything that he's putting forward, everything that he's showing.
I don't know, I'm a big Colin Hurley believer.
Me too, but I'm a Ricky Collins believer too.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be one of those tales as old as time where Ricky just feels like the one, the odd man out when you look at it. Nussmeier, and then it's obviously hard to start as a freshman, but it feels, Hurley's going to early enroll, have time, and I think you'll probably see both of them get a lot of reps, even in game. Like, you'll see some flashes of Colin Hurley just because what he's continued to do and what he puts on film, it's almost impossible to deny that he's going to be it feels like he's going to be a superstar at LSU. And the way that he's recruited, obviously all those guys are going to like him. It's easy. He doesn't have to win the locker room, and the talent just wins out at some point.
Stewie, we have the phone and everything hooked up over there? We're calling Caden Durham, the number 1 running back in the country.
You know who his lead recruiter is for Oklahoma?
Out of Duncanville, who?
DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, DeMarco Murray is the running back coach.
Yeah. So that might have some pull. He was a stud at Oklahoma.
And with Dallas.
I know, but it just feels like he got lost for a second. He just never got the pub he deserved at Oklahoma.
Injuries was his thing.
He had a hip.
Dallas.
Was it a hip?
Hip and the hamstring was big for him.
But I mean, dude.
He was so smooth.
Yes, a little bit like Richard Murphy 2.0.
Yeah. No, I would say like 4.0.
Yeah, but Richard Murphy had that spring game.
He did. Great spring. All right, hey, we're coming back. We're going to talk to Caden Durham, who's one of the top running backs in the country. He's down to LSU, Oklahoma. We're going to push LSU and see if we can't make some moves here. Come back with us. Jordy Culotta Show. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here, Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders, our friends over at R&B. You can find them online, rnb-builders.com. We were talking recruiting with Billy Embody in hour number 1, and every time we talk about recruiting, we bring up Duncanville High School. And when we bring up Duncanville High School, we bring up their running back, Caden Durham, who is electric. Runs a 10.7-2 in the 100. 10.7 flat he just clocked at the AAU regional qualifier. He is one of the fastest running backs in the country. He's one of the most electric running backs in the country. He is out of Duncanville, Texas. His team is awesome. They won the state championship last season. It seems like it's an LSU-Oklahoma race right now. Tigers were feeling good a couple of weeks back when he came to campus. We'll catch up with him now. Caden, good morning. How are you, man?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for time. Thanks for waking up with us. I know that we've been trying to schedule this, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Yes, sir.
What has recruiting been like for you, man? Take me through the experience. What's it like?
It's going good right now, Can't complain. I'm just taking it day by day and week by week.
When did this start? When did this really start for you? Obviously, you're going into your senior season. How long have you been dealing with recruiting now?
Really, it started this January. Actually, really, it started kind of late for me because I was like a late bloomer, really. But it really jumped off like January.
What is your story? What is your football story? When did it really start to click for you? Obviously, you're a track superstar. When did football start to pop?
Yes, sir. But speaking on track, I ran 10.25 instead
Oh,
of 10.7.
shoot. That is my fault. I was talking about my numbers, Caden, not yours, dog. My bad, man.
Turn on the tape.
Sheesh. I thought that sounded a little slow, cuz, but all right, my bad. 10.25 for Durham. So you're a track superstar. When did football start to go off for you?
I started football at 6. So I just kept on playing. Then I moved to Duncanville my sophomore year. Then it blew up from there.
So look, man, everybody down here is worried sick about Oklahoma. We know your mom went there. We know she was a stud. She was an All-American sprinter. And then we hear you and DeMarco Murray are super tight. So tell me where you are in your recruiting. How's this thing kind of lining up for you?
I'll be committing game day against a Sock. So that day, y'all know what it is, for sure.
We're hearing it's LSU and Oklahoma. Are those the two schools that it's out of?
I ain't gonna spill the bean.
Okay. All right. So just talk to me about LSU. What do you like about LSU? What about Frank Wilson? And what has stood out from LSU's standpoint?
LSU, I like the environment, the people. You know, everybody always happy, always showing love, and like even if you don't know the people. Like I had went to a breakfast place, and they were just talking to me like they knew me. You know, everybody showing love. Then Coach Frank, you know, that's my guy. You feel me? He built so much trust in me. Like I can call him up for anything. He'll be like, okay, I got you. Or he'll walk me through anything. Then like LSU period, you know, it's just LSU. Ain't nothing wrong. Yeah. Can't nothing go wrong going to LSU because it's the proof in the pudding, you know. Everybody you see if you go to LSU, you got a high chance to go to NFL. So like if you want to go to NFL, I mean, why not go to LSU?
Obviously, you will be doing both, right? At wherever you go, track and football.
Yes, sir.
So what is your event in football? Is it just the 100? What else do you run?
Yeah, mainly the 100.
Okay.
I could run 200, but nah, I'm a 100 guy.
Are you on like the 4x1 as well?
Oh
yeah.
Oh yes, sir.
You the
anchor.
It don't matter to me. I can run 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay, so wait. Is it true that you run a 10.25, Caden, which is like that's world class fast?
Yes,
I mean, like that's Olympic fast. And now, is this true that you're the third fastest in your district?
Nah, I'm the fastest in my district.
But you got guys that run alongside you, like that clock 10.2 with you?
Oh yes, sir.
All right, man. This is incredible. Okay, so what's the date of the game that you're committing?
August 25th.
Okay, August 25th is the commitment date. And is this on national television?
Yes, sir.
And then you guys at Duncanville, returning state champs, and your roster is loaded. I guess, right? I mean, undefeated state champions or bust. What's the goal this season?
Yes, sir, for sure.
I appreciate you, dog. Good luck on everything, man. And we will be watching on August 25th. And hopefully LSU can make a push here. Good luck.
Thank you.
You got it, man. There's Caden Durham checking in this morning.
What time did you say?
What do you mean?
The first time?
Oh, he said 10-7.
10-7.
Yeah, 10-7. I'm looking at his highlight.
My man said, I'm 10-2-5.
And when I was saying that, I was kind of thinking like, man, I've heard that he's like world class fast. Yeah, like
10-7.
10-7.
I mean, nothing to sneeze at. So
it's just sub-11, you know?
He go to the Olympics at 10-7
last week.
10-2-5 is getting you somewhere. I mean, you can see it. He's not a track guy playing football.
No, he's not. But he is a track guy.
He's a track guy. But
when he is sprinting,
when he hits the hole, he shot out of a cannon.
Work of art.
Yes, I mean you could see the first highlight on his huddle is him going 99, and he's going everybody behind him. He was like, "Oh, we all come to the end zone. Everybody, you just got to catch me first." It's insane his ability to like game breaking speed.
Like a bloodline of runners and sprinters. The one that we've seen is who?
Odell.
Oh,
gee.
I mean, like who was a better open field runner and sprinter than Odell Beckham? I mean, like there's only been a handful of people that can take a slant route in the NFL 90 yards. I've seen Odell do that like multiple times. We all have. I mean, like we all have, right? I mean, we've all seen him like. I want to say his first touchdown in Cleveland was a 90-yard slant route against the Jets on Monday Night Football. Because I remember Booger was on the call, and we had Booger on like the next day or like right after that, and I was like, Boog, how many people can do that? You know, like how many people can catch a slant on an NFL football field and run away from everybody? You know, I mean, it's one thing to like catch a go route when you're behind everybody and you run past everybody. But when you catch it in the traffic on a slant and take it to the house 90, 85 yards, 80 yards, where you're running the majority of a football field and you're outrunning NFL guys that are, you know, have their head down sprinting, that's just different. I mean, that's a different type of dude. That's a different type of athlete.
Was
that his first touchdown?
Was the Jets' first first touchdown.
Where did he catch the ball at?
He caught it on the 20-yard line.
I mean, he goes 80 yards on an NFL field on a slant.
Split the safeties. Mm-hmm. We gone.
I mean, you got to think, man. You catch the ball in the middle of the football field in an NFL field, there are probably 3 people that have angles on you.
I mean, Coach, they had.
You know what I mean? Like
angles.
there are 3 people that are bearing down with an angle on you. And did he get touched?
No, he did not. Like the safety dove at his legs and couldn't even.
Had he had a knee surgery at this point?
I think he had.
He had
no, he had the ankle.
The ankle
in New York.
I mean, I don't know if he can still do this, obviously, with a couple of knee surgeries later, but at one point, Odell Beckham.
I mean, my man was rocking with no ACL doing this, so I don't know.
God, he was explosive for the Giants.
Oh, the ones with the Giants, the ones where he was holding the ball like Walter Payton in the open field was the finest.
He was just having fun.
He was just toying with people.
God, you forget what time is a motherfucker.
It is, especially in the NFL.
You just forget.
One year counts for 3. See ya!
Look at 34.
I mean,
look at 34.
He's not even sprinting. It doesn't even look like he's sprinting. He didn't get touched.
No, he didn't. 34 tried.
He didn't get touched.
Might have touched the bottom of his cleat.
Golly. I mean, especially like I'm watching old Giants highlights.
Odell highlights.
He deserved all of it.
He was the best wide receiver on the planet for 3 years.
And they're just going to win Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, he was on the way.
So I don't think we're allowed to show these. I got a feeling.
We'll be all right.
Hit that like button, share button, comment button. We will talk to you tomorrow morning. Appreciate you being here. Everybody have a good Thursday.
Shout out to Odell.
Shout out to Caden.